Hey everybody, I just wanted to make a short video of kind of how I made some modifications to my tractor sprayer here. So if you're familiar with these, most of these run with a PTO powered roller pump, and so I've converted mine to an electric diaphragm pump. So I'm going to show you a little bit of how I did that and the benefits of doing that. So this is what is normally on these sprayers. This is a PTO roller pump. They can either have 4, 6, or 8 rollers. The problem is these things don't last very long. I guess if you took it apart each time, took it off the tractor, the spray rig, took it all apart, flushed it with clean water, put oil in there, maybe they'd last longer, but I don't have time to do that. You either forget to do it, and sure enough, you go to use it the next time, it's either seized or either it just doesn't pump. So this pump, I've actually tried to rebuild it. It worked for just a little bit, maybe 100 gallons or so. And then I looked behind and gauge on the spray rig and it says 10 psi, which is not enough to do what I needed to do. And this pump actually was, I think, one of the stainless pumps, which is pretty expensive. These are $400 or $500. And then I think it might have lasted maybe 2 seasons. I don't think it lasted two seasons. But anyway, I got to thinking, surely there's got to be something better or different that would last longer, be less trouble-free. So I decided to start looking around for diaphragm pumps. So what I've changed the PTO pump to was this diaphragm, electric diaphragm pump. It runs on 12 volts on the tractor. This pump says that it has a GPM flow of 7 gallons per minute. And while I think that's probably right, after you plumb this thing up, have a few elbows, and it goes through some things, I think I'm getting about 5.5 GPM out of it. So it actually, if you look at the nameplate here, this thing is rated for 24 amps. And I'm thinking when it's running hard, it's probably pulling 20. So you need to keep that in mind. Make sure that your tractor's alternator can keep up with it and that your tractor's battery is big enough. The other thing that I would suggest on these pumps, which I already had this for the PTO pump, but it's this thing right here, and this is a strainer, and this goes just before the spray mixture or the water gets up here to the diaphragm pump. These diaphragm pumps have a switch on them. So this is called an on-demand pump. And what that means is when the pressure drops below 20 psi, the pump kicks on, and when it goes above 100, then the pump kicks off. So with this regulator that I have here, this is a regulator. I have it adjusted to where when the pump is on, it basically runs all the time. The excess then dumps back into the tank in what I call bypass. So that's not a bypass pump, but it does bypass through the regulator back into the tank, and it also does some agitation. So then what I did here with this switch box is you weld a switch box onto the frame, and I have a heavy duty 30 amp light switch here, and this is what's controlling the pump to turn it on and off. The nozzle that I'm using, I'm not sure if you can see it here. Okay, so there is the nozzle, and this is a boomless nozzle called a boom buster. And this thing puts out about a 15 to 18 foot swath of spray. It works pretty good. It uses about 5 GPM. So the way that I have this wired, or the way that it connects to the tractor, is I use this twist lock 30 amp plug. Now this is rated for 120 volts, but I'm only using it for 12 volts. But this is pretty handy because when this is connected to the tractor, the jiggling around and the bouncing around the tractor does, this won't come undone, because you plug these two ends together. One end is on the tractor, and they twist and they lock together. I also have this to where the nozzle here is just hooked up with a garden hose fitting. So I also do some prescribed burning, and I use this spray rig to put out any skips in the fires that we have, and I run it just then through a plain old water hose. And this pump puts out plenty of water to fight the fire. The other thing I had to think about was where I was going to mount this pump. So it's no longer attached to the PTO of the tractor. I had to put it somewhere. I thought about welding it to the frame, but finally I just found a little flat space here on the top of the plastic spray tank, drilled some holes, mounted this with stainless hardware, some rubber washers up underneath to make sure any of the spray mixture didn't splash out. So it's really sturdy. These diaphragm pumps are pretty sturdy. So the head of the pump is just plastic with a rubber diaphragm, so there's nothing in there to rust. A lot of these herbicides, they're fairly corrosive. So there's no metal parts, as far as I know, inside the head of this pump. Okay, so here's how I have the wiring connected to the tractor. So you see here, this positive lead goes to the positive terminal on the battery. The negative goes to the negative. There's a 30 amp fuse holder right here, and that protects all of the wiring going to the back if something shorts out somehow, or either pulls too many amps. So here at the back of the tractor, here is the cord coming back. I have a little piece of a plastic pipe. This holds the plug. This is the female end of the plug, and that comes back. This keeps it out of the way. So then the sprayer connects back here to the back of the tractor. Those two ends, the twist locks, plug together.